season
Ron James
in Ohio. This is a big deal, you guys, but it's also a big deal for Donovan Mitchell specifically. Conference Finals is first time in his career. I don't know how you can't be happy for Donovan Mitchell watching all of that yesterday, Lou.
No, he played great. He played well, and like you just mentioned, I said it was over in the first 5 minutes because he just how he inserted himself in the game. The first 2 plays of the game, he got a lob for Mobley and was able to get another dunk for Jared Allen. And if you know anything about playoff basketball and the NBA in general, if you allow somebody to get in your paint, let alone dish and be able to get guys dunks, that tells me it's a total breakdown on the defensive end. There's no stability on your defense if you're allowing people to get all the way to your rim and to be able to get dunks. The fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers, their first 4 points were 2 dunks, I didn't overreact, but I'm like, listen, that's a telltale sign. That's a bad sign because Detroit's not standing for anything. Donovan Mitchell, then he starts attacking, then that opens up the three-point line. Then from the 2 dunks, that turns into them getting 6 first-quarter three-pointers. That opens up everything for the game because now it puts Detroit in a position like where now we got to protect the rim. That opens up the three-point line, and now you have a breakdown on your defensive end, and we already know what Donovan Mitchell is able to do when you have defensive breakdowns. Then you start having these type of plays. If you allow somebody to be comfortable, as the Cleveland Cavaliers were to begin this game, that breeds momentum. And so for me, just for them to be so comfortable with the start of how this game went, I knew it was going to be a long night for Detroit, and I think they just never got into this game and were able to never put themselves in a position to be competitive at any point.
Yeah, he set the tone, right? And like Lou just said, getting your bigs, especially Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, who aren't really kind of shot creators themselves, getting your bigs these easy buckets early, letting them see the ball go through, just kind of opened up their entire offense. And I think Coach Van Gundy was saying that his first 4 or 5 assists all led to dunks and layups. And so they just had their way with the defense earlier, and you could tell Detroit was frustrated early. They were frustrated with the shots that Cleveland was getting. They were frustrated with the officiating, and I think they just the Cavs really just capitalized on that. But this is the best version of the Cavs offense I've seen. When you have this playmaking version of Donovan Mitchell, the bigs finishing everything. You have Sam Merrill going absolutely bananas.
Sam Merrill was incredible.
Knocking shots down.
He was incredible.
And then James Harden kind of doing everything in between for this team while still kind of struggling, which he's historically done in Game 7, but they didn't even need him last night. It's just such a dominating performance by those 2 bigs and Sam and Donovan Mitchell.
It is crazy how from game to game, it's just very Jekyll and Hyde, especially in this Eastern Conference situation. Like, based off of the game before this, I would not have predicted anything remotely close to what we got last night. The Harden thing is you know, I can't help but say that, Chandler, it was a success, right? Like, this is exactly... They've made it as far as they've made it. He's made it as far... Like, this is a big deal.
Yeah, it's pretty... Like, they've never done it before,
They've
right?
never done this.
They didn't do it with Darius Garland, and they did it with James Harden. So I think that alone, that's why they made the move. They believe in Donovan Mitchell. Let's build pieces around him. And can James Harden help us win and get to where we want to get to right now, currently, for the next 1 to 3 to 5 years that Darius Garland and this team just couldn't do it? Obviously, that answer is yes. And this was one of the best offensive games and defensive games. Like, all season long, Detroit has dominated with their effort and with their energy and with their defense and toughness. The Cavs did that to them in Game 7 in the most critical part while they just dissected them offensively. So this was great. I think James Harden, again, he struggled a bit, and that's kind of been his thing in Game 7, which is weird because he's such a gamer and he's so talented offensively. But, yeah, I think this alone, just getting to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time with this unit, proves that it was a successful trade.
I mean, what else would you call it?
It made it all worth it. And they've had their peaks and valleys with James Harden, but when it mattered, he showed up. And like Chandler just mentioned, he was able to fill in the gaps, do all of the small and the necessary things that they needed from him, being able to be successful from the three-point line, being able to attack, getting other guys involved. Like, this is the best version of him that you can see right here. Playing, using his size, being able to get fouled, still playing through contact, trying to get to the rim, using the three-point line. Like, these are the things at his age that makes him successful, and he's shown up. So, you know, can you make a case that this is the most successful that they've been since? Absolutely. So that makes this trade worth it. This puts me back to the original plot. Last year, we were talking about Cleveland being that #1 seed and getting back to that point where they can be respected as such. Got off to kind of a slow start. this season. That's what kind of provoked that trade to get them to this position. But now they're in the position that they always wanted to be in. They've righted everything that we thought were wrong. If we start talking about the Knicks, we were talking about the Celtics, we were talking about everybody around them, the Pistons included, and we kind of said, we're not sure about the Cleveland Cavaliers. They put everybody back on notice, and now everything is back to its original form, and we thought that Cleveland was one of the top teams in the East.
And defensively, too, like they got guys like Max Strus and Dean Wade that can kind of fill in the gaps and do what James Harden doesn't do best. They could just allow him to be the point guard, kind of be the setup guy. Certain nights he can go off like he did in Game 6 and be that aggressive scorer, but even Max Strus and Dean Wade, most people probably aren't going to talk about them. They did a great job just hawking Cade Cunningham 94 feet all series long. Not even just last night, but just making it difficult.
He's like rolling his eyes.
I mean,
you got to show Schroeder some love, too, as well.
Yeah, they're face guarding.
Schroeder did his thing.
They're face guarding Cade Cunningham from 94 feet.
Yeah.
Like, and you can just tell. And they picked his pocket a couple of times. They just made nothing easy for him. And for him in the biggest game of the season, again, to go 5 of 16, have 13 points was devastating for the type of season that he had individually and the type of season that this team had.
Also, a lot of Detroit was just Tobias Harris just happened out. It was it was a combination.
The worst timing ever for them to have their worst game ever.
Truly.
It was, but again, like a guy like Schroeder, only 2 points last night, right? But look at the offensive fouls that he drawn, the energy that he brought to the table, the pressure that he put on to those guards to make it difficult for them to score. Just knowing how to impact the game without it showing up on a stat sheet. Like that's another guy that they went out and got at a trade deadline that they needed that ended up giving them big time minutes, no matter what it is. Like usually when a coach say, hey, just take advantage of your minutes and do something positive for a team. I think he was the example of that just by doing the small things that's not going to show up in a box score, but being able to help this team win a basketball game.
Also, think about how deep this team is. We don't even talk about Keon Ellis. He was one of like the hottest names of the trade deadline for them to go and acquire. He doesn't even play. Like because these other guys are just
Merrill,
like Merrill and Strus, and these guys are playing their
Merrill, Strus is back in the lineup, and Strus was incredible this whole series.
It's crazy.
Play well.
Mobley and Allen are obviously a big part of this story, especially now as we kind of look ahead to the Knicks. But they had 44 points, 19 rebounds. That's what they combined for last night. This is, Chandler, for everyone who doubts them. And there are a lot of us, by the way, because on any given night, one of them sort of can disappear. If you get this version of these two guys, now we're talking.
These guys did what I wanted Jalen Duren to do all playoffs long last night. Like just being active, finishing, catching the ball and finishing, rim running, lob threat, setting hard screens. Like they did everything that you want your mobile, athletic, big to do that you don't necessarily have to play through. They didn't once give the guy these, an ISO or face up or off the block pass. Look, these are all just straight up, just spoon fed, no doubters where you can go and you can catch and finish and do what you do and show your athleticism. So these guys were great. They were great defensively. They were great on the glass. And they're just so efficient when James Harden and when Donovan Mitchell can get in the paint and get in the teeth of defense and just bless them with these easy dunks and layups. It was like, it looked fun to be those guys last night.
I mean, well, yeah, when you're up that big, too, it's just like.
Well, Mobley was in his bag. Mobley was in his bag.
This is the Mobley I think people want to see and
it's the one we saw last year.
What you just said, Beetle, like this should be the standard for these guys. Now that we know that you have the potential to be like this and to give this team these options to score inside of the paint and outside, like Mobley made some big shots from the line and beyond, but this should be their standard. They should be able to give you 30 to 35 points collectively on any given night to ease pressure off of Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. And now at this point for Strus and Merrill as well, to allow these other guys to be able to use the three-point line as a threat. When you have guys that can do that for you inside of the paint and at that size, that makes this team deeper and that makes them a lot more dangerous.
Yep.
After this one, JB was asked about Bickerstaff, the season, if it's a disappointment. And you could tell he was a little annoyed by the question, which I get. You just lost, and it was not a great game at all. But he says it wasn't. It was not a disappointment that they were the one seed. So let me ask you that, right? Because we're talking about the Detroit Pistons. We all know where they were a few seasons ago, but they were a 60-win 1 seed. And to get blown out, like if this was a 2-3 point game or overtime, I don't know if we're having the same conversation, but it feels bad today.
Well, for me, when he says he doesn't feel like the season is a disappointment, and I say I agree because I think they fail based on what we always knew what their holes were in this team. They couldn't score enough. They didn't have a secondary guy. And even their primary guy in Cade, they didn't have a good night last night. And when he doesn't have a good night, who's going to be the guy that gets you over that hump? They didn't have that consistent. I think Tobias Harris was pretty good in the playoffs. Everybody had a bad night for Detroit.
For real.
But, again, when you talk about it, when you look around, we always kind of had our what-ifs. I woulda, coulda, shouldas about Detroit. Even at the number one position, we still looked at the Celtics as a more complete team. We looked at the Knicks as a more complete team. We had questions about Cleveland as well, but Detroit, being a 60-win team, having 2 All-Stars, being able to have home court advantage, those are all positive things that a still very young team can build off of. Now, somebody had to lose.
Sure.
And somebody was going to be disappointed. It wasn't going to go their way. But they fought. They got to this point. They were in the Game 7. They were down 3-1 in the first round. They did a lot of positive things this season, and a lot was accomplished in Detroit. So to say that it was a complete disappointment in the season, there were some disappointing moments. I'm sure they're disappointed that their season has come to an end. But a lot of positives were made in Detroit this year.
I agree with you. Now that I'm hearing it all out, it's like last night was disappointing, but maybe not overall.
Like Game 7 sucked. Like there's no doubt. That's not the way. You don't want to go into this offseason with that sour taste in your mouth after the hell of the season you had. But it's not a disappointment because, first of all, they learned exactly what they need this offseason. They learned all their issues, all their glaring holes, and that is the most valuable thing they can get.
That's the hard part.
They also, they're not Oklahoma City. Like, I don't think teams tag them as a championship or bust type of situation this year. They overexceeded all expectations. They were dominating during the regular season. They got the number 1 seed. Coming back down 3-1, they showed resiliency and toughness. They've identified their culture. Like Cade last night extending J.B. Bickerstaff, so proud and hyped to play for him for identifying the culture in this organization. Like, they grew so much this season. So I agree, this was not a disappointment. Game 7 was a disappointment. There's no doubt about it.
For all of us.
You don't want to get your ass kicked on your home court in Game 7 after everything you've been through. But this team knows exactly where they're going, and they will be exactly where they are next season, reloaded with hopefully a second option score.
Well, and that brings us to the money portion of today's show. Jalen Duren. 10 points is what he's averaged during this thing. 8.5 rebounds in the playoffs. He is a restricted free agent this off season. Now, if he makes All-NBA, which a lot of people think he's going to, he'll be eligible for $287.
Are we sure the voters aren't going to be swayed by this? Like they were for Rookie of the Year.
Those votes are supposed to already be in. Like, I don't even know how it works anymore. Look, even if he's not All-NBA, he's still eligible for $239. That's $1 million for those of you confused. I've been on this show, I've told y'all, I just have a lot of hesitation in signing this gentleman to this sort of a deal, especially what we just witnessed. I know you guys are in the camp of you have to, but I'm hearing more and more people sort of back off a little bit, like, hold on, what do we do?
There's a couple of things. He's restricted, first of all, so if I'm Detroit, I'm making him go get it from somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And then I'll have the option to match that or not. All-NBA, I think, if you look at the consistency of this season, being the second best player on the best team in the East, averaging 20 and 10, which he did in the regular season, which this horrific postseason shouldn't impact the voting. He should be third-team All-NBA, which makes him get another $50 million, which is dicey. Again, I think they saw glaring holes, but I've said it all along. This kid is 22 years old. He's only going to continue to get better and grow. But this was bad. His agent's got some work to do this summer because this playoffs was bad. He didn't look like himself. Stewart was bad. Like, their third-string center was their best center all playoffs long. Like, that is not what you want to have happen going into your big free agency where you can get possibly that kind of bag. So I'm still rolling with them. I don't think Detroit is going to get a better big man than Jalen Duren in free agency ever. I don't think they're going to be able to produce something in the draft with how good they're going to be during the regular season with the picks that they're going to have. So I do think they need to pay him, but now we're starting talking 240, 250. I don't know. Maybe they can cut a deal. It's probably why they should have extended him before the season started.
Say that too.
But this was a
humbling drop off.
This was a humbling experience for him, but I think he only gets better from here. I really do. He's 22 years old and he's a man-child.
Lou,
but then he also needs some money for another scorer too. So I don't know.
Yeah, because that's the thing is not just, I don't know if you sort of psychologically sort of ruin the relationship between Duren and the team, if in fact, hey, go see what you can get and then we'll decide if we want to match or not. But also the fact that you are going to need that money. Tobias Harris is a free agent. You have to add, as we've just been talking about for basically the last 3 weeks.
But that's not even ruining the relationship. That's how restricted free agency works.
But I'm saying,
I went through it like people.
Do you think he mentally?
But also,
I think
if a team make you go out there and work and find it, you're kind of looking at them with a side eye. Now, business is business, but you know how it goes.
He's 22.
It's hard not to be a human in those situations where
they didn't extend him early.
Yeah, it's hard not to be human and say, damn. Y'all not really feeling me like that? Like y'all made me go out here and find a team to match this
Maybe
deal?
after this playoffs, they can meet in the middle somewhere and not make them go get it.
There you go. But I think where their holes are is obviously scoring. I think you go out and you go get a household name. You go out there and you knock on some doors.
Like, what are we thinking here? Ideally.
Fairy tale land, I like D-Book.
Oh, wow.
Get in the Giannis sweepstakes.
Okay.
You know, just somebody that's gonna give you an opportunity. I know it's some young guys out there. You know, the MPJs and the Trey Murphys of the world, those type of guys, they make your team better, but I wish they would just go out there and get somebody that Detroit can look up in the morning and say, okay, I think we got a legitimate opportunity to run it back and put ourselves in a better position that we're in right now. And so it's a lot of decisions to be made. They own all 3 of their first-round picks. They have some assets to go out there and play ball a little bit and tighten this team up. So they got a lot of questions that need answering.
All right, so dream scenario, Lou's got D-Book. Do you have someone, like, in your vision of what this could be?
Yeah, that would be a dream. I think it's a pipe dream, but it's a dream.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I have guys like Trey Murphy and them, too. Like, they're good players. I want, like, a ball handling, like,
well,
Trey
you got
Murphy
your ball
and
handler.
MPJ. I'm saying, like, an off-guard type of guy. Trey Murphy's great. MPJ's, I'd rather like an Austin Reeves type at a certain number.
Well, that could be a thing.
Where you can have him run the offense, let Cade play off the ball a little bit.
You make a run for Kevin Durant?
Yeah, do you do that just for a season and see what happens?
I'd rather someone younger to grow with this core that they have. But, yeah, if you got a chance to go get Kevin Durant, of course, I would try and do that. But I just think that they definitely need more offense. Like, think about it. This team was a Game 7 away from going to the Eastern Conference Final.
Sure.
Tobias Harris, and I love Tobias Harris, as their second-best player. It's pretty impressive.
He just had the worst
But again, that's a vet. That's an OG.
Yeah,
if you can get somebody,
you can re-sign him too with
that's
the second guy.
Okay.
Like, I don't think he's going to demand crazy. I think you bring Tobias Harris back. I think the fans should love him. The fans should want it back.
I think so.
Thompson, I think, is eligible for an extension too, which he's going to get a bag. Just his athleticism and the way he defends. I think it all depends on what number you can get Jalen Duren for. And same with Thompson. Those are 2 young studs that you probably want to keep, and that they fit the identity and the culture of Detroit Pistons basketball 1,000%. It's just at what number?
I wonder how much of this, too, is that Giannis dependent. Like, so many teams, I think, are going to be frozen. I mean, obviously, you can't do anything until later anyways. No, but I think he's going to be the top brick that has to fall before things really
That's what I said. That's why I said Fantasyland. I don't think he lands.
Domino.
Yeah, I don't think he lands in Detroit, but Fantasyland, if I want a big name, I'm throwing him out there. But I don't think it happens.
Yeah, no, I think it's fun to think about that because you never know. So what we get out of that, an Eastern Conference situation with Cleveland and New York. That bad boy starts tomorrow. All right, Chandler.
I hadn't seen the Knicks play in so long.
Yeah, they've had birthday parties.
I almost feel like I got to pick Cleveland. That's the only team I've seen play in a while.
Yeah, they got to be rusty, right?
Am I the only one, and this is me being negative, but am I the only one that once this game ended last night was like, congratulations to the Knicks, you're going to the finals?
Really?
I felt that like immediately.
Well,
no, it talked me out of it. No, here's the deal. I don't want to feel that. So if you can talk me out of it, please do.
The way the Cavs played last night, they can play with anybody, including those 2 teams in the Western Conference. If they're that dominant with those 2 bigs, and Donovan Mitchell is that efficient and plays that point guard position while scoring the basketball, and you're getting 20-plus from Merrill, and Strus is making shots.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
If they play that version with that type of toughness and defense, they can compete with anybody. Now, the Knicks, again, it's what have you done for me lately season? We haven't seen them play in a month. Like they have been rolling. They've been playing better than anybody in this postseason, and they're rested, and OG's back now practicing with the team. Like he's probably going to be back, and he's been their second best player all postseason. So I think this is going to be a highly competitive series. I think it goes 6 or 7. I got to give the Knicks just the advantage is how they've been playing, and now they should be fully loaded by the time this series actually starts. But yeah, I feel like I don't even know them at all. I need to watch film.
Who are you?
It's been so long since they've played.
Like legit, I've watched them have like Josh Hart had a whole birthday party for his kids. Like this has been like days and days that they've been doing this. Lou, do you have Knicks coming out of this as well?
I do. I like the Knicks.
See,
you got to show respect to the team that took care of business and afforded themselves some rest, right? Like we just watched Cleveland and we kind of get lazy and we like, dang, they had a great game last night. But it's a reason why the New York Knicks been off for quite a while, because they took care of business. They're well rested. They've been able to get OG back in the lineup. And I think they're just prepared for the task. I think they know that this is an opportunity for them to really get to the NBA Finals. I think they take full advantage of it. They're going to get they're going to get a Cleveland team that's coming off a tough fought Game 7. And sometimes when you're in that position, you kind of want to decompress. I don't think Cleveland has that opportunity, and I think New York takes advantage of it.
There's something to say, though, Cleveland, like, they're going straight from Detroit to New York.
Sure.
Like, they got momentum, and especially how they just performed on the road. Like, they think they can do anything going into MSG Game 1. So I do love the fact that they're going into this series on an absolute high.
But when have the New York Knicks not been on a high this entire postseason?
Rusty, I guess.
Look what they did to Atlanta to close out. Look what they just did to Philadelphia. They've been on a high. They don't need any extra motivation. So again, I got to go with the team that's been chilling, readying up, getting ready for this thing.
See Knicks for clicks, people.
Series.
They don't hate the Knicks.
No, I don't hate the Knicks at all.
Everybody relax.
I hate the Knicks fans.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to say.